You ever watch someone cruise a run, look smooth for miles, and absolutely fall apart the moment the pace changes? Legs look strong, heart rate isn't redline, breathing is controlled, and yet the kick is trash. No gears, no snap, no surge. Just that awful hollow feeling where your legs are technically working, but nothing's happening. That's not a motivation problem, that's not a grip problem, that's not even a strength problem. That is a neuromuscular problem, and most runners never train it on purpose. So today, let's fix that. But first, context, because this isn't theory coming from someone who jogs recreation or reads PubMed abstracts for fun, and yes, I actually do that. I have raced everything from 100 meters to the 100K, and even towed the line of 100 milers and beyond. Track, road, trails, ultras, adventure races, Ironman distance triathlons, different surfaces, different demands, same truth every time. Strong legs don't guarantee a strong kick. If you don't train the systems that produce speed late, your kick disappears exactly when you need it most. Look, I make these videos because most athletes are not lazy, they're just misdirected. They're training hard in the wrong direction without understanding the trade-offs. Forge Grit exists to give you a compass, not commandments. I show you what each path builds, what it costs, and why it matters. So you can choose which direction you want to do with clarity, ownership, and sovereignty. That's the job. The rest is up to you. Now let's talk about why your kick dies and how to rebuild it. There is a myth that kills runners. If my legs are strong, my kick should be strong. And this belief has ruined more finishes than bad weather. Here's the uncomfortable truth. You can squat heavy, you can log massive miles, and you can have excellent aerobic fitness and still have zero usable speed at the end of a race. Because kicking isn't about how strong your legs are in isolation, it's about how fast your nervous system can recruit force under fatigue. And fatigue changes everything. So to understand why your kick disappears, you need to understand what fatigue does to your nervous system, not just the muscles. When fatigue accumulates, there are three critical things that happen. First up is motor unit recruitment slows down. Your brain becomes conservative. Fast twitch fibers get reserved instead of deployed. You feel like you're pushing, but the output drops. Number two, ground contact time increases. Each step stays on the ground longer. Elastic recoil starts to disappear. Stride stiffness drops. That's the death of your kick. The third thing that happens is coordination degrades before strength does. This one matters most. You don't lose force first, you lose your timing. The muscles start firing out of sequence. Hips stop contributing. The calves try to save the day and fall heroically. Your kick doesn't die because you're weak. It dies because your system cannot switch gears anymore. And that brings us to the biggest mistake runners make when trying to fix this. Here's what most runners do when their kick sucks. They add more sprints, add more strides, add more track work. And sometimes that will help temporarily. But if the underlying problem is fatigue resistance of the nervous system, more speed work just teaches you how to be fast when fresh and useless when tired. Your kick happens at the worst possible time, late, under glycogen depletion, under neuromuscular fatigue, and under psychological pressure. If you don't train that state, you won't perform in it. So let's define what a kick really is. A strong kick depends on 5 systems working together. Elastic stiffness in the lower leg, hip extension power under fatigue, fast motor unit availability late, coordination between trunk and pelvis, and psychological permission to surge. Most runners train maybe one of these accidentally. We're aiming to train all 5 deliberately. Let's break down each one of those and expose when your training is actually leaking power. First up is elastic stiffness. Your calves and Achilles aren't just shock absorbers, they're springs. When stiffness is high, energy returns quickly. When stiffness is low, energy leaks into the ground. Late in the run, stiffness drops. Ground contact increases, stride turns into survival jogging, and that's why high mileage runners often look smooth early and sloppy late. They trained endurance, but they didn't train elastic durability. Fixing this doesn't mean more calf raises, it means short ground contact drills under fatigue. But calves don't operate alone, the hips are the real gatekeepers here. When fatigue hits, your glutes are usually the biggest engine to downshift. Why? Because hip extension is metabolically expensive. The brain protects itself by shifting load to smaller muscles. So instead of powerful extension, you're going to get overstriding, quad dominance, calf overuse, reduced propulsion. Your kick doesn't fall to that foot. It falls at the hip. And if you don't train hip extension or fatigue, you'll never have it late. Now let's get into the real problem. The nervous system's reluctance to let you go fast. And this is where most runners will actually get a bit uncomfortable. Fast twitch fibers don't disappear during endurance events. They're just become inaccessible. Your brain's going to limit access when it senses threat, like energy depletion, coordination loss, and structural instability. This is why you feel like you can't accelerate, not because you physically can't, but because your nervous system will not allow it. So you don't need more courage, you need proof. proof that your body can handle high output leg. And that proof is built through specific training and not hope. Next up, you have trunk-pelvis coordination. And if you ever watch runners lose their kick, you'll see the same thing. Torso collapses forward, pelvis tilts, arms cross midline, stride shortens. That's not leg fatigue, that's midline collapse. Without trunk stability, the brain downregulates speed to prevent injury. So you won't surge if the chassis isn't stable. That's why your core training for runners isn't about plank, it's about anti-fatigue control, which we just did a video on this. Please go check it out. And finally, the piece nobody wants to admit matters. Your permission, the psychology of kicking. You cannot kick if you don't believe you can survive it. Your brain's going to ask one question late in the race. Will this break us? If the answer is unclear, it will shut you down. This is why people with less fitness sometimes kick better than fitter athletes. They've trained discomfort tolerance and system confidence. The kick is physical, but it's governed by psychology. So, how do we train all of this without turning running into a circus? We're not going to be chasing novelty, we're going to be chasing transfer. This is how it actually gets trained. First, fatigued, primed strides. Instead of fresh strides, do these after a long run. Example, go for a 30 to 60 minute run. Then afterwards, do 4 to 6 by 15 to 20 seconds fast. Full recovery, focus on posture and stiffness. This is going to teach your nervous system to access speed after fatigue. Or you can do short hill surges late. This is going to be exposing power leaks instantly. Go late in the run, do 4 to 6 10 to 15 second hill surges, then walk back and stay tall. Hills force hip extension and stiffness without overstriding. The third thing you can do is strength that actually transfers. If you're lifting, If your lifting doesn't improve your kick, it's very decorative for what you're trying to do. What transfers is loaded carries, sandbag cleans and shoulder ins, single leg hinges, and step ups under fatigue, because they will reinforce your hip drive and trunk stability simultaneously. You can also do strides under imperfect conditions like grass and gravel, trails, slight downhill, not chaos, just variability. Your nervous system learns adaptability, not fragility. Most runners will never fix this because it requires restraint. It requires accepting that mileage alone won't do it, strength alone won't do it, speed alone won't do it. You need integration, and that's not sexy, it's just effective. And now we're going to get into the biggest lie runners tell themselves. That lie is, I'm just not a kicker. No, you're just untrained in that gear. Kicking is not a talent, it's preparedness. If you don't practice switching gears under fatigue, your body won't give you access to the gear that when it counts. This isn't about winning races, it's about finishing strong, physically and mentally. And before we close, I want to give you one practical framework you can steal immediately. It's very simple. Once per week, one run with late strides, or one run with late surges, or one strength session reinforcing your hips and trunks. That's it. No overhauls, no obsession, just one direction. If you want this system laid out cleanly with progressions and movement options, self-coaching frameworks, that's exactly why I built the Forge Grit workbooks. They're designed to help you understand why things work. More importantly, why you work, and not just blindly following some idiot program out there. You'll find them linked in the description if you want to go deeper and actually take ownership of your training. Your kick isn't weak because you're soft. It's weak because your training never taught your system how to finish. Strong legs are useless without coordination. Fitness is fragile without durability. And speed is meaningless if it only shows up when you're fresh. Forge Grit doesn't promise podiums. It promises capability. You get the compass, you choose a direction, but it finishes strong matters to you. Now you know which way to go. Train the kick you want to have, not the one you magically hope appears.